interpretation of that letter from Helen Ziller. I see people are saying, yeah, they're demanding 12.
Making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
7 to 7 onto this now, and then they were down to 3. Are the dominoes beginning to fall as more parties ditch the so-called Progressive Caucus, including now the UDM, Al-Jama and the PAC? What of this formation as opposition in our politics? The leader of the African Transformation Movement, Vuyo Zungula, says his party will not join the ANC and DA-led Government of National Unity, but will remain part of the MK party-led Progressive Caucus. He joins us now on the line. Vuyo Zungula, do we have you on the phone? Good morning. I think the line just dropped. The line just dropped just as we were introducing him. Oh, there we go. Vuyo Zungula, good morning. Have we got you?
Morning, Bongani. Morning to everyone listening.
Fantastic. I thought the line dropped there for a moment. Welcome to our show. Thank you for your time. So listen, this is an historic moment for South Africa, surely. I mean, the idea of political parties coming together, putting aside personality, even policy differences for the common good. Why is that a bad thing?
It is a bad thing because if you are going to run a government, there needs to be work of the government for the next 5 years, and that work must be based on policy similarities, because you can't be having the same government with different ministers, but you find that those different departments are run in a manner that is not bringing about unity and stability for the country. If I can make a quick example, let's talk about the issue of BEE and affirmative action. You can't have a party that is opposed to that particular policy running a department, and you have another party that is pro that policy running a department. Because what's going to happen is that there's going to be conflict of policies for the same government. In our view, what should have been done now is that there should have been a clear work of the government, so that whoever, regardless whether they come from any party, when they're in government, they implement the work of the government instead of being confined to the policies of their own respective parties, because those respective parties are going, the policies of the different parties, if they conflict, make South Africa to look as it is not stable.
I would argue that a coalition made of parties at political variance with one another is not something that's necessarily unique to South Africa, but in fact may present an opportunity to fine-tune some of those policies, even where they disagree, to at least find a kind of middle point compromises. So you mentioned affirmative action or even transformation as an agenda. Perhaps this may be the opportunity to fine-tune some of those policies in a way that actually make them work better than what we've seen.
For the longest time, Bongani, you find that one of the issues that people have been crying about was policy certainty for our country. Now, what will happen if, for example, you have a Minister of International Relations coming from the DA that is anti-BRICS, anti-Palestine, and you find that the president of the country is coming from the ANC, and the ANC is pro-BRICS, is pro-Palestine. So that is going to cause conflict. So that is why our view as a party was to say the point of departure should have been working around having a coalition that is based on parties that are sharing similar views on issues, because that would mean they're going to for the same direction.
But you're asking for an ideal scenario. In fact, if we look at the ANC and some of the members of your Progressive Alliance, although there might be some ideological common points, there are definitely clear differences that some of those parties will not compromise on, the land question, for example, being one of those. There'll never be a scenario where there's a party that agrees where two or more parties agree on almost everything that's critical.
Indeed. However, the issues here, there are fundamental differences that we are going to find now with the ANC and DA. However, you find that with the ANC and the other parties that are not part of the coalition of the DA and the ANC, you find that the differences are not as much as you have with the ANC and the DA. So, so in our view, there should have been that particular consideration. Say, how then do we work with people that we've got fewer differences with, instead of working with parties that we've got vast differences, as we see with the ANC and the DA.
All right, let's talk about what you offer. Opposition for opposition's sake is clearly something that doesn't resonate with SA voters, a lesson one assumes the DA has learned the hard way. What do you hope to bring to those opposition benches?
What we've been doing for the past 5 years, which is being constructive in our opposition. When the ANC or the ruling party is correct, we are going to support them, we are going to rally behind them. However, when we feel of view that their proposals are regressive, then we are going to, call them out and educate the public about how regressive the particular positions or the policies are. And most important, our democracy is based on a multi-party democracy system, whereby there is a need for opposition parties as a safeguard mechanism for any abuse of power by the ruling party. So if you're going to be having a coalition of 10 parties, there needs to be other the role of guarding against any abuse of power by this ruling coalition of 10 parties.
So some might argue your Progressive Caucus as a bloc is led by the MKP as the biggest in that grouping, notwithstanding a lack of clear policy positions. It's all Africa's years of disaster under Jacob Zuma. Why does that not bother you?
If you look at the ANC, many people in the ANC currently, as we speak, that are
sure, but you're not in alliance with the ANC. I'm asking you about those with whom you are in an alliance.
If you look at what we are saying as a Progressive Caucus, number one, we retain our independence as a different parties on matters whereby there's agreement and common ground in. Then we work together as a bloc, because that is what makes Parliament to be more effective. It is when opposition parties are able to block together to push.
No matter who is in the bloc and what they've done and what record they come with to that bloc?
What is important is their offering now, because currently now, Bongani, there's 58 members of the MK that are going to be sworn in. We don't have a track record of all 58 members that are going to be sworn in, whether they've done wrong, and if they did anything wrong, they would not even be allowed to be members of parliament. So in our view, allow the